Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host, Usha Kumar. Last week, I had this very talented person, Denise Simon, in my show talking about her experience as a career coach of actors and also as a talent manager. And she's here again this week to talk a little bit more about all the frauds and scams that are taking place in this field and how to protect yourself and your children from these scams and still make it in this industry. So please join me in welcoming Denise Simon. Denise, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back, Usha.
It's my pleasure. You are a talented actor yourself, and you're a great coach and talent manager, and you've managed talents that have won awards and that are superstars in the movie industry. And you've had so many children learn from you. Last week we were touching upon one topic that was constantly in my head, and that is to avoid scams and frauds in the industry. You practice right here in Westchester, neighboring state, Westchester, New York State. But do you also have clients and students from Connecticut?
I have many students in Connecticut because my home studio is on the Connecticut border. You know, these suburbs, Westport and Danbury and Ridgefield and Bethel, well, there are kids everywhere, right? So
these are just neighboring towns, really.
Exactly, and it's a lot closer than going to Manhattan. And so to get some quality education in the arts, and you don't have to travel to New York, is obviously, you know, these kids are so overscheduled. So if we can, you know, save them a few hours driving and have some classes right here in town or close by.
Have you ever had any classes here in Danbury, in this area?
I don't think I've taught in Danbury.
No, because I remember when my son was in elementary school, right here in Haystown Elementary School. During summer, there was an acting lesson offered by somebody nearby, and I signed him up because he wanted to do that.
Excellent.
It was coaching for drama and to speak and everything. And I think that really helped him in terms of being confident to just get up on stage or in front of people and at least speak a few sentences.
It's invaluable. It is. You will never be sorry that you signed your child up for an acting or a speech or a voice class, because most of these kids will not go on to work professionally in the industry, but they will become very confident, self-empowered, and hopefully successful adults because they have learned skills in team building and in confidence and in public speaking that will serve them in any career that they choose.
Yeah, and last week, the last show, we were discussing the aspirations of young adults or children and parents in trying to groom their children onto a profession in acting or a career in acting, really. But then I'm just thinking back to my own experience. I'm not in the acting profession, and my son didn't go on to be an actor, but I think we both benefited immensely from our acting drama classes, really.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that, because that's exactly what I tell parents. Sometimes I'll get a phone call, especially since I do a lot of college coaching, from a parent saying, my child wants to major in theater in school, can't I talk him out of it? And I say, why would you want to? It is a wonderful opportunity to learn skills that will really serve them, and it's something that they want to do, that they're passionate about. I was a theater major. I was passionate about acting. I didn't end up pursuing acting, but I ended up getting into another side of the industry, and the entertainment industry is an incredible industry. There are many opportunities: casting directors, agents, managers, directors, producers, makeup artists. It thrives in a recession. It is a wonderful industry.
Not to mention the technical people.
So
they can get into all these special effects and
exactly the whole film industry. So there are many different jobs and careers
so it's not
that
just
come out of that
acting.
training.
It's a whole industry comprised of several talents.
Exactly, just by studying, theater. Maybe your child has writing skill, and maybe they'll end up being a playwright. So you don't really know where it's going to go, but it's in the training that will allow the child to find their peach, if you will.
I think that some parents are afraid that being a theater major, they may not exactly get into a career that pays them a lot.
That's right.
And so that is true too.
That is true.
And that is why parents freak out when
I think so.
children want to major in theater.
I think so. But what is true is that most kids entering college really don't know what they want to do, and they change their majors several times. And a lot of kids come out and they never, ever end up pursuing a career in what their major was anyways.
Yes.
So at least if your child is passionate about wanting to study something, if you're supportive and allow them to do that, I think that the benefits are going to outweigh, possibly what you're afraid of. We don't know any of this for sure, but I think that one of my students, who was a child actor and came to me for classes for many, many years, he wrote me recently, and I had lost touch with him, and he is the Associate Dean of Physics at Harvard, and he has attributed so much of where he is today to his acting training.
Oh, I see. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think even in any company, just to sit up, get up and speak in a company meeting, this will just really help.
I taught improvisational acting classes to an advertising agency.
I see.
They had hired me to because you're learning how to think on your feet. You're learning improvisationally. It's a wonderful training skill, really, for any career.
I think that is a great lesson to have. Just remembering my school acting experiences. Very often people will mess up their dialogues, or they'll forget to say something that they're supposed to say, and then you, as a person who has to speak next, will have to improvise and kind of say what they would have said, but they forgot to say, and say, hey, I think you were going to say this, but here's my answer, and then give the answer as a dialogue.
One of the things that I teach, and it's really the basis for all acting, is listening. Listening is the number one basic skill that an actor has to have. And learning how to listen and actively listen is not easy. And of course it can serve you anywhere.
It's important that you're not thinking about something else while pretending to listen to someone else. Because when you listen to someone, it's incumbent on you to have a follow-up question based on what they said just now, instead of saying something different.
But the acting, right, what I teach, and really what acting is, it's about living truthfully in this present moment.
I see.
Right? So it is being present right now and not thinking of my next line. And this is what's so difficult about acting, is I have a script and I have to memorize it and know those lines.
And you have to say it in that order.
And that's right. And then I have to forget that I know them and just be present right now, so that we're having a conversation where it looks like we have never said this dialogue before. And this is what's very difficult about acting.
To make it look natural, seem natural.
Right.
What advice do you have for parents, who have children that want to be actors and superstars?
Well, I think first and foremost, it has to come from the child, and really assessing whose dream it is, and that's the first chapter in my book. Whose dream is it? Yours or your child's?
The parents often live vicariously through their children.
They do, and so it really has to be coming from them. This is a very, very difficult industry. And if it is coming from them, I do believe it is in somebody's DNA. I really do believe they are born with that artistic gene. And so if if it's coming from them, you know, that's great. And then from there, you know, maybe getting a good assessment of, does my child really have some talent? And if not, how to get it, because it can be learned.
I see. We need some training, right?
Exactly.
Some kind of training. So what kind of training will they need?
Right, so where do I go to get that training is a question. I had, for many years, gone to a dentist, and he was very lovely, and I had many of my teeth filled and caps, and it was only when I found the second dentist that I had every one of those caps replaced that I learned that that first dentist I went to really wasn't very good, but I wouldn't have known that until I learned something different. And so sometimes it is hard to know, am I getting proper training? And so I think a good rule of thumb and a litmus test is when your child is training in voice lessons, dance, or theater, are they progressing? And are they getting better? And if so, obviously it's working. And you know, what's your rapport with the teacher like? If you can audit or sit in on a class, that's always a great way to begin. But interviewing somebody, reading somebody's website and getting recommendations. I put testimonials on my website so that people can see, read other parents' you know, experiences with the teacher. I know for my own.
So how will they know? It can be very expensive to send their children to voice lessons, singing lessons,
it is very
dance
expensive,
lessons,
but so is horseback riding and ice skating and karate.
Acting and drama classes.
It's all expensive, right? So it's, where do I want to put my money? And I, you know, try to help parents balance that. I have kids that dance competitively, and all they do is dance. And there's no room for anything else. There's no time in the day, maybe there's no money left. And you do need to be a well-rounded, balanced child if you're going to pursue this industry. And it isn't all about your acting lessons, your voice lessons, and your dance lessons. We want real kids who are well-rounded and have other interests.
Once they get all this training, if they want to find their first job or find their first spot, acting spot, who will they choose? This is where all these scammers come in, right?
Exactly.
Fraud, you have to really avoid them.
You do.
So how do you spot and avoid?
Well, I think the first rule of thumb is if somebody's asking you for money, you know, you should walk away right there and then. There are some publications out there that have lists of reputable agents and managers that are, the agents are franchised with the union, with the Screen Actors Guild, and AFTRA, it's called SAG-AFTRA Union, and you can just call your local SAG office in any city, and they can give you a list of the union franchised agencies. And then we know they're protected by the union, that they're legit. You can also get some publications. Backstage Magazine, who I write for, has a publication called Call Sheet, and that publication will list all of the agents and managers that are reputable, that handle and work with children. And then you can do a mailing, the old-fashioned mailing, get a nice snapshot. You don't even have to use a professional headshot.
Nowadays it's easy with your own digital camera.
You know, for children, in the beginning, we're not expecting them to have professional headshots. You need a good, clear picture of them that, you know, with no distraction, no fancy hairdos, just them being themselves, and put together a resume. I have a sample resume on my website, actually, of a nice way to lay it out, very clear and simple. And a lot of kids don't have a lot of experience. Maybe they've done their school play, maybe they've done a camp play, maybe they don't have any experience, but you can list their special skills. They're good at jump roping or ice skating, and their height and weight. You never want to put their phone number on their home phone or address. You use a cell phone.
You always need an adult to represent them.
That's right. You put a parent's cell phone on there, but you never want to put a home address and have that attached to the photo. And you can mail it a cold.
Oh, that is to be careful that nobody comes after the child. Just looking at the picture, you have all kinds of people.
Yeah, you know, it's a crazy world we live in. You can ask recommendations if you have a voice.
So how does a parent not include the address there?
You don't need an address.
And with everything.
You don't need an address. You don't need a home address. Sure, an email or a phone number, just
phone number is enough.
Somebody can contact you and say, well, we'd like to set you up for a meeting. You know, nowadays everybody has a website, and you can really do your research checking out their website. And many scammers have websites as well, so you've got to learn how to, and that's not always easy to detect.
These organizations, the ones that you mentioned.
Exactly.
That way you know these are people, reputed people in the industry and who are genuine.
Exactly. And you know, if somebody's telling you that they're going to make you a star again, probably not going to happen.
Especially teen girls. We keep hearing, even today, as it happened like 50 years ago or 60 years ago, that they run away to be a film star.
Also Craigslist. Really avoid anything. We don't advertise on Craigslist. That is not where we need to go for casting. So Craigslist is usually...
So if anybody puts a casting call on that, avoid those.
Exactly. That's probably not real.
It's not a real one.
Another one is if somebody is answering the phone at 10 o'clock at night, right? We don't have operators standing by. We work a long day, but our phones go off at 6 o'clock.
I see. So the normal working hours?
I would say 10 to 6.
10 to 6, kind of, okay.
And we have our answering machines that go on later, but nobody's really going to talk to you about coming in for an audition or a casting at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, okay.
And if you get a phone call that says, rush calls, like we need to cast this by tomorrow. Yes, things are cast at last minute, but no. And nobody's that desperate. And when somebody's looking for all types, usually we're looking for a specific type, so these should be tip-offs.
Okay. That's interesting. And the last time you were mentioning about the difficulty in trying to support a child in this career, in terms of having to take them from their place to the cities where most of these kind of jobs are, right?
Well,
so how much will it cost? I mean,
well, yeah, it is.
I mean,
it's expensive.
the parents have to set aside a good amount of money to support their child in this
Well,
field.
I mean, you have money for photos. If you're going to get professional pictures, you've got a few $100s for that, and you have to update those, every 6 months as your child is growing. Lessons in acting.
All the lessons.
Depends what they're pursuing, but if they're pursuing, I have what we call a triple threat, an actor that dances, sings, and acts. You have your voice lessons, your dance lessons, and your acting lessons. Your travel in and out of the city.
Yeah, traveling in and out of the city.
Parking.
How bad can it get?
Well, I mean, you know what it's like to park in the city. You can get coupons for park for $15 a day, and maybe it's not so bad. But I think like anything. I mean, at one point, my daughter was interested in horseback riding. And it's also very expensive. So I think that all
So
of
they
these...
will have to be ready for that, for the travel, the parking, and frequent trips. And they would have to get away from their work and
exactly, and especially if they're going to
accompany a child.
If they're going to get hired and maybe go on the road, maybe a parent will have to leave their work for a while. And so, all those things you need to take into consideration.
That is why you find children of actors kind of automatically going into acting these days. It's easier for them than it is for others.
Well,
but anybody can do it if they have the aspiration.
Anybody, at any age, it's a lot harder to wait. Can you begin a career at 50 or 60? Sure. It's, not going to be as easy, but...
You are planning to write a book, and you've written several articles.
I have. I've been a writer for many, many years. I've written over 200 articles for Backstage magazine on anything and everything about child performing. And I am writing a book right now. I hope to release it in the fall. And
what is it about?
The book is a guide for parents to help their children enter the professional world of show business, how to support their dream, but more importantly, why.
Okay, why? Do you have the answer for that?
You have to read the book, Usha.
You have to read the book.
We did speak about that a bit, but the why to support your child in this is because it will give them the self-confidence and the empowerment to really be able, what we want for our children, right? To be able to do whatever they really want to do. And most kids don't know what they want to do. So to give them confidence and support them in something. You stood by them and supported them in something. They will never forget that.
And we also talked a little bit, but you can mention that here and explain that a little bit, in terms of the speaking skills. Children should be encouraged to practice good speaking skills.
Well, especially, living here in the tri-state area, I've had many kids come to me from Long Island and the Bronx with very thick New York accents. And, that's going to get in their way, even down the road in another career. With a very thick dialect or accent, they need to eliminate that. And I find adults will come to me, and I do a little work with dialects and accent elimination. in, you know, can you help me get rid of my accent? I don't like it. You know, people look at me funny. I'm typecast. So I think just good practical speech will allow viewers and the general public to listen to them in a different way.
I remember one talent coach or manager saying, you know, there are a lot of people in the Northeast, especially Boston area, they speak through their nose, you know, nasal accents. So we have all kinds of such things that have to be corrected before one can be.
What we teach for the theater is American Standard Stage Speech, it's called.
I see.
And so a word like C-A-R-R-O-T, how would you say that?
I would say it carrot.
All right, good, carrot. So some kids will say carrot, you know, depending on what part of the country you live, and the correct pronunciation is just carrot.
Yeah.
It's a standard American speech with no regionalism.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be able to detect what part of the region you're from. Now, if you're having to play a child from England or a child from Boston or a child from New York, then you're going to have to learn an accent on top of that. And for children, we find the two most common accents, and I do a lot of work with dialects and teaching British, but there are many types of British. So there's a standard British, and then there's a lower class Cockney. Those are very, very common. The British dialect is the most common for children. Matilda, they use it. Billy Elliot, the musical, Mary Poppins, they all needed the British accent for that. And then Southern, we find for a lot of films, Southern is another popular dialect.
Some new movies, I don't want to be mentioning movies and stuff, but they were being criticized for using the British accent for that. And they said, oh, why use a British accent for something that happened so many years ago, we don't know where. But then that was the English used there.
Right, I mean, look, accents can be learned for characters and parts, but most of the time in casting, you know, what the casting directors are looking for is who is this child, and finding the real you without any character or phoniness. We want to know who the child is, and then the child can then take on that character and role.
I see. It's good that they have to learn to speak first. And then another thing, I know that for me, my biggest fear was that I won't be able to deliver the sentence on stage in front of a lot of people. So how do you teach children not to be afraid? You know, how do you get the stage fright out of them?
Well, first of all, most of the children that I teach are not afraid. These are kids that really are serious about this profession and are at a different level, most of my students.
Okay. So they're already not having the stage fear?
Most of them don't. However, everybody gets nervous, especially before an audition. So I teach a lot of relaxation before going into a room, physical relaxation, and then of course your mental state, right? What's really going on up here? It's this negative self-talk, or this talk of, will they like me, and what are they thinking? And really this is where the coaching comes in, you know, to coach an actor or a child and to get out of that, because that's never going to serve them. And everybody is unique. You know, you can't compare yourself to anybody, and at the end of the day, you're going to get cast really because of who you are, because it just is who they're looking for that role. You can be so talented, and 98% of the time, it has nothing to do with anything but that, you know, are you what we're looking for?
Yeah, I think, well, that's a good advice. I think the parents do have to support their children if they want to learn acting, and support them if they want to get in this field. This is very interesting. I know that for myself, I got over the fear of speaking for the most part by actually attending a public speaking course. And that was the most difficult class I've ever had.
Well, it served you well.
Math classes were not difficult in college. Calculus was not difficult. Management courses were not difficult. That was the most difficult one. But I feel that has really helped me tremendously, you know, to be aware of myself, aware of, you know, how I talk, how I think, how I appear.
So in what I teach in the acting world and acting classes, I do a lot of work with speech and dialect, but more important It's the improvisational training that is, I think, what you're talking about. What your the speech, the public speaking was to you is what the improv training is.
Yes, that's what it was.
Right. You see,
they would give a topic, we'll have to pull it out and read the topic. They give you exactly 2 minutes to think about it, and then you have to speak.
Because it's getting out of your head. So improvisational training teaches you the exact opposite of what you're learning in school all day, right? So we're learning to be thinkers, and we use our head and our brain. And in acting and in improvisation, we tell you, get out of your head. Do not think, right? And that's really contrary to what we're taught. So improvisational training, just learning to think on your feet, because isn't life is like a MASH room sometimes. The you know, in MASH, the TV show, you know,
yes.
So it's like a MASH, just having to figure it out as we go, and that's life.
Oh, I still love to watch reruns of that. That was fun. Thank you very much, Denise. That was just wonderful. I wish you can come back again with more information.
When my book is finished, I would love to come back with the book in the fall.
Definitely, and give us a little bit more about information about all your experiences, and give us updates on your of the talents that were under your wing and that are doing well today. And we have a minute left. If there is one important advice you can give these actors, what would it be?
For the actors or the parents?
For the actors.
You know, I would say just really follow your heart and follow your dream. And if this is what you want to do it.
Because they have to enjoy what they do for their career.
Exactly.
And even if they don't end up in that career, they should still be prepared for a different career.
Yeah, I think, you know, you do something because you love it and you don't know what else is going to come out of it, but if you love what you're doing, you radiate positive energy and wonderful things happen and come to you. So,
well, on that note, thank you very much, Denise.
Thank you, Usha.
I will end the show. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked it. Until next time, goodbye.